The official yes and no pamphlets for an Indigenous voice to Parliament have been published to the Australian Electoral Commission website. The pamphlets will be printed and sent to all Australian households no later than 14 days prior to the referendum day, which has not yet been announced by the government. For more, we're joined by Voice Referendum correspondent Dan Borcher. Hi there, Dan. So what's in these pamphlets?
Ros, good morning. Well, they really go to the arguments that we've been hearing and seeing for most of this year from both the yes and the no campaigns. On the yes side, the message is quite simple. It's about unity and, as they say, about what they believe is doing the right thing. On the no side, it's about knowing and the detail, and the no side says if you don't know, vote no. But let's go through some of the detail, Ros. And the first is that the yes side is saying vote yes for a better future for Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people and for all Australians. Vote yes for unity, hope and to make a positive difference. They're saying that voting yes is about recognition, recognising Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people in our constitution and paying respect to 65,000 years of culture and of tradition, listening to advice from Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people about what matters, the matters that affect their lives, so government can make better decisions and better results, making practical progress in Indigenous health, education, employment and housing so that people have a better life. And just earlier we heard from Thomas Mayo right here on the news channel speaking to that tone that the yes side has taken. Here's what he had to say.
Well, it's a very important part of the process, the pamphlet, to inform Australians about the cases for or against recognition of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people by giving us a voice. And it's one piece of many different ways that people can get information about forming their position. And so, you know, it's an exciting moment in the journey.
As for the no side, we've heard some more detail and certainly seen that emerge, that the referendum, it says, is not simply about recognition. This voice proposal goes much further, the pamphlet says. If passed, it would represent the biggest change to our constitution in our history. It is legally risky with unknown consequences. It would be divisive and permanent. If you don't know, vote no. Then it also details 10 reasons to vote no. The voice is legally risky. There are no details. It divides us. It won't help Indigenous Australians. No issue is beyond its scope, and that it risks delays and dysfunction. It opens the door for activists. It'll be costly and bureaucratic. This voice will be permanent. There are better ways forward. And we've heard this morning from Warren Mundine, who is co-leading the No campaign. Here's what he had to say.
A lot of work went into the pamphlet. They've been working on it for quite a while now to get it right. Look, there are some things that you've got to be a bit worried about in regard to truth and stuff like that. I think the government and the Australian Electoral Commission didn't want to see themselves as being some editor of the whole process. They just wanted people to get their views out there. I'm comfortable. There's a couple of things there, but they're minor things. So I'm pretty comfortable about the whole thing.
And that point, Ros, that Warren Mundine there made about truth is an important one to acknowledge, because we know that the Electoral Commissioner's role was not to fact-check these pamphlets or to go through line by line and offer that kind of assessment. It was really around the word count. And so I think it's important to note that these pamphlets are not about facts, but they really are about the arguments from both sides. As for the Electoral Commission, they'll now combine those along with the exact wording that we'll all be voting in the referendum, and that'll be sent out no sooner than 14 days before the referendum is held later this year.
And Dan, there has been more discussion about the tone of the debate.
Yeah, there certainly have been, Ros, and this is something that you and I have spoken about in the past, about what appears to be in some areas a real deterioration in the public debate and in instances the vilification as well. And that's what Julian Leeser, who was the shadow Indigenous Australians minister, who then quit the front bench in order to campaign, aside from his party who are voting no, he wants to campaign yes. He gave a speech last night where he he really focused squarely on some of the bigotry that he's been seeing and focused particularly on a campaign ad from Fair Australia that was run in the 9 newspapers, the Australian Financial Review, that's been widely condemned and also saw an apology from that newspaper. He spoke out last night and again today. The subject of that advertisement was Thomas Mayo, as well as other members of Parliament and business leaders as well. But Thomas Mayo hasn't had very much to say publicly on that until just now. Here's a little of what he had to say.
It's been very disappointing, those personal attacks, but we need to focus on communicating with Australians on what they're actually going to be saying yes or no to at the referendum. It's not about me as a person, it's not about any other Indigenous leader. We're talking about providing recognition of Indigenous people, something that should have been done long ago, but to do it in a practical way that helps us to better shape policies that affect our lives.
Warren Mundine also weighed in on that campaign and on some of the tone of the commentary that we've been seeing in this debate so far.
You should see the dreadful things that are said to me and attacked me. And they've got to be the most racist rubbish you've ever seen. Now, it's not about attacking him. It's about questioning what is the voice going to look like if the yes gets up. And everyone knows that in the beginning I was a supporter of this voice, and then I changed because I started to see it turning into a huge bureaucracy, which isn't going to really do anything different. People can put those comments up I said in the past, and and I'll stand by of what I said.
And any word on the timing of the referendum, Dan?
Well, Ros, that remains one of the big questions. And of course, there have been 2 areas of great speculation for those people that are having these discussions about the referendum. One is around the date itself, which many still believe will be held in mid-October, although the Prime Minister has again reiterated it can be held any time really from October through until December. And the other piece of speculation was that the Prime Minister would be making the announcement on Yolngu country at the Garma Festival in just a couple of weeks' time. Yesterday, the Prime Minister made this point. He said, I don't think that Australians appreciate very long campaigns, and that's been the case in the past, so I don't envisage at this time announcing a date at Garma. So if that's not the case, where the date is announced, then it still means that the date of the referendum itself could be sometime in mid to late October. It just means that we might not hear about it until the start or into September. So at this stage, Ros, not any more certainty around the date or the timing, although certainly the detail that's come out from both camps in the yes and no side in this pamphlet indicate that we are well on our way, and now we are just really waiting for the Prime Minister to detail that date.
Dan, thank you.